Manchester City could save their whole season with just one singular signing, and today we're going to be talking about the impact that one player could have on the team if City can get his signature in January. But before we get into that and talk about this player, please do like the video if you enjoyed and comment your thoughts down below on the impact you think this signing would have on Manchester City's season, and obviously subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is the first video one you're watching. Please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel. You won't regret it. It might even further encourage you to subscribe. With all that being said, let's talk about how I think the signing of Omar Marmoush can save Manchester City's entire season. Omar Marmoush to Manchester City is a very, very weird situation because I had a video planned on coming out on Monday talking about 3 players rumoured to be joining Manchester City in the January transfer window. But whilst I was editing the video, news broke that Manchester City would not be signing Omar Marmoush in January, with Eintracht Frankfurt unwilling to sell him in the January transfer window. And that is completely understandable. We're talking about a player that has played 15 Bundesliga games with 13 goals and 8 assists in the league. Why would you want to sell a player that is putting up those sort of numbers midway through the season? That is completely understandable. So the video went on hold. But today I am hearing that Manchester City could still be signing Omar Marmoush this month, because it looks incredibly likely that we will sign him at some point, most likely in the summer, with us offering him a 5-year contract to start in the summer, right? That was rumored, yeah, that we had offered him a 5-year deal in preparation for signing him in the summer. But news has broke that there is apparently still a chance that we could get our hands on Marmoush in January for around 60 million euros. And there is one big reason as to why I think this signing would be important and crucial to City saving their season. And some of you might be saying, Nathan, Bundesliga tax. Yes, he has 13 Bundesliga goals, but Bundesliga tax. You've got to remember this. Look at Werner, look at Mkhitaryan, and look at Jadon Sancho at Manchester United. And yes, I get that. Bundesliga tax is definitely a thing when it comes to attackers, because obviously in the Bundesliga, you're going to be playing against a high line 99% of the time, yeah? You're going to have a lot of space to run into, right? If you're fast, it's going to work absolute wonders. And then you come to the Premier League, especially for a big 6 club. You're going to be playing against a low block 90% of the time. No space to run in behind. You've got to be patient. You've got to pick your moments correctly. And those 2 or 3 chances you'd be missing in the game, they're going to be a lot more costly, because those chances are going to come around less and less and less. So yes, it definitely exists. And that is why Timo Werner isn't as successful in the Premier League as he is when he plays for Leipzig. In the Bundesliga, it 100% exists, and I would be delusional to say that the Bundesliga tax does not exist in some way, shape, or form. And I'd also be delusional to say that Omar Marmoush would 100% be a success if he joined Manchester City, because you just never know. There is always that slim chance that any player joining the club could flop, because the environment might be right, not be right, the league might not be right, they might struggle to settle in, anything could happen, a number of variables. But the reason why I think he is the key for saving our season, well, there are many reasons. The main one is Haaland, yeah? Big, strong, physical number 9, Erling Haaland, has to play every minute of every single game, because we sold Julian Alvarez for a lot of money, by the way, a deal that I'm not complaining about, because it was very, very good business. We sold him to Atletico Madrid, and we did not bring in a backup striker. So we've got no striker that can play if Haaland's not fit, if Haaland's in bad form. That is why Haaland's been playing when he's picked up knocks and when he's in bad form, because you just can't drop him. Like, it's impossible, because we're not scoring any goals if he's not on the pitch. We don't even have a threat of scoring goals if he's not on the pitch, even if he's having a bad game. So just having the option there for someone else to play in a forward position helps, because Marmoush is a centre forward. He can play off the left, he can play off the right, but he is mainly a centre forward. And he's a complete different profile to Haaland. That is also important as well. Because if we're having a bad game and we look to the bench and we have a backup striker and it's just another big number 9, what does that achieve? If Haaland's being marked at the game and the game plan of getting the ball to the big man isn't working, why would you bring on another big man? So it's important to have strikers of different profiles for different situations. And that is why I think it is important to have someone that is as technically gifted as Marmoush is as good on the ball as Marmoush and has as good of link-up play as Marmoush. And I'm not saying Haaland's link-up play is bad, because it's not. And I'm not saying he's bad on the ball, because he's not. But Marmoush is just better. He's just better in that regard. He's a good playmaker, and he's comfortable in front of goal. And again, I'm not saying I've watched a lot of him. I don't watch the Bundesliga. I've watched a handful of Frankfurt games, and I've seen the odd compilation here and there. And yes, I know the compilations take the best bits and they can make anyone look good. But I have watched a few games of his in preparation for this, yeah. I don't have the time to sit there and watch the Bundesliga every week, unfortunately. I barely even have the time to watch City at the moment, which is annoying, I know, but here we are. But yeah, no, from what I've seen of him, he is an excellent player in multiple regards. He's a very well-rounded forward. So he's good technically, and that is something we could definitely use, especially if Haaland is not in the best run of form. But most importantly, he is comfortable in front of goal. He is a forward that is comfortable in front of goal. Because you look, Doku has 2 goals in the Premier League. Phil Foden has 2 goals in the Premier League. Savinho has 1 goal in the Premier League, and Jack Grealish has a big fat 0 goals in the Premier League. And obviously, yes, Haaland's putting up numbers in the Premier League, but like I said, he's not always going to be on form. So if he's not scoring goals, who is? No one. No one's scoring goals. And that's the point. And that is the problem we're having. We don't have anybody that seems confident in front of goal this season other than Erling Haaland. So having a player that can play off the left, can play off the right when Haaland's playing. So it's not like he is completely redundant and irrelevant if Haaland's on the pitch. He can still play in some way, shape or form. Because... and this is kind of one of the issues there was with Alvarez. Alvarez would get pushed out onto the wing or into like a 10 role when Haaland was on the pitch just to give him minutes. And he stunk in those positions. He was so bad on the wing. That first half at Anfield against Liverpool last season, that left wing performance from Alvarez was a disgrace, and it was absolutely disgusting. And some of the performances he put in the midfield last season, awful. Horrible. He was shoehorned into positions that he wasn't comfortable in just so he could get minutes. And I don't think that would happen with Marmoush. He definitely could play in centre forward, and he's definitely a player that is comfortable in front of goal and likes scoring goals, right? But he can also play out wide. He might not be his best position, but he can play there if needs be. So he's not completely redundant and irrelevant if Haaland's playing. Which is important. There is a possibility for them both to play together. And I just think it is important for us to sign a player, because what Marmoush is 25, 26, yeah? It is important for us to sign a player that's in their prime years. Because if you look at the signings of Savinho, Doku, Vardio, yeah? All young players, all extremely young players, either around my age, just slightly older than me, or even younger than me, yeah? That's young. That's really, really young and inexperienced for a player. And yes, Vardio, Savio, Doku, all good players, but they're extremely raw talents, and they're obviously going to be making mistakes because they're still really at the beginning of their career, which is crazy to say for people like Doku and Vardio, who have played at the top level for a good few years now, right? But they're still young and they're still going to make mistakes. And then you look at signings like Gundogan and Kovacic, who are players nearing the end of their career. And yes, they have experience, but they have no real room to improve or longevity in the squad, like realistically speaking. So it's important that we have players in that sort of middle range where, yes, they have experience and they've played at the top level for a decent amount of time, and they've played professional football for a decent amount of time. But at the same time, there is still room for them to improve and them to have a future at the club that is more than just 1 season or 2 seasons. Because we just don't have that in our squad, and that's the one thing we're missing. Players in those prime years. Yes, we have Foden, we have Diaz, and we have Rodri, but that's it. You look at everybody else, so either ridiculously young or coming to the end of their career and their legs are completely gone. So just having people in that mid-range is so important. It is really, really important, because if you have a player of a team of just young prospects, up-and-coming talents, wonder kids, so to speak, you're not going to win anything because there's no experience in there. And they're all just prone to little mistakes. But if you're able to manage their game time with people that are obviously very experienced, like your Grealishes and your Kevin De Bruyne's, right? And you have them in there with those players that they can learn from, but there's also people in their prime that they can compete with, like Foden, like Marmoush in this case. It is very good for a player's development. And again, you look at Saka, right? We'll use Saka as the example for Arsenal. he was a young player, and he's played a lot of games, and those minutes are starting to catch up with him. Obviously, in him now being sidelined until next month with an injury. And that injury could keep spiraling and keep getting worse if he is rushed back and is forced to play game after game after game, because he played so many games of football when he was developing as a young player because of how good he was. So it's important that we don't overuse the young players that we have, but at the same time, it is important that we don't just keep using these older players that just clearly aren't working in the team. So I think Marmoush has to come to City. I think it has to, right? I think it would be a very, very missed opportunity if we do not pick up Marmoush, at least in the summer anyway. Obviously, we can miss out with him this month if Frankfurt want us to pay ridiculous money. But at the same time, that fee could even rise in the summer depending on how he ends the season. So if we can get him now for a decent deal, then it is excellent business for City. It bolsters our attacking options, gives us another goal scorer in the team. And he's, again, just a fun player to watch. Like, I don't mind watching City lose or draw a game if we've got fun players to watch on the pitch like Savio and Doku, and Marmoush would fit that role. It's when we're losing games and I'm having to watch Bernardo and Grealish just do nothing for 90 minutes, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, that's all I really have to say. I think Marmoush would be an excellent signing for City, and I honestly think he has the potential to save our season if we can get his signature done by the end of the month. But again, let me know in the comments what you think about Omar Marmoush coming to Manchester City and what you think of him as a player as a whole. Again, like the video if you enjoyed, and please just subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Remember, the goal is 1,000 subscribers. Try get that done before April, and you know, that would just be wonderful. But with all that being said, I've been Nathan. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces. Chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like GT trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it. Body come mad, come shake it. Shit then, get back to the basics. Bro, done shut down cases. They belly dots to the can't